Namaskaram. Those of you who are watching this video of the Thatha Talks series for the first time, I would suggest you watch the previous episodes before watching this one, or at least watch episode 5 because they are subtly connected. There have also been many questions regarding the series and my Thatha. I had introduced Thatha in episode 1 and mentioned that whatever I am sharing is not exclusively from my years spent with my grandfather. The sharing is also from years of living with my guru and decades of studying Tamil Siddha's works and life experiences. There could be 100 other perspectives on the same topics, and I don't counter or negate them when I put these out. The beauty of our culture is the freedom to express our experience in our own way. The topic of breath came up with my Thatha when he was explaining nimitta, the signs and omens. Using the situation where I tripped over a flower pot, Thatha was explaining a certain custom. The practice being, while stepping out of the house, if somebody bumps their leg or trips over something, they making them sit for some time before allowing them to step out again. Thatha explained, the way your breath flows indicates your mental activity and in turn your physical composure. For a normal person, 21,600 breaths happen in 24 hours. The more the moments of anger, stress and anxiety, the more breaths one expends. One becomes meditative, the number of breaths per day will also become lesser. The more conscious one is of his breath, the more grounded and composed he would be. I asked Thatha, is this the purpose of pranayama that you are teaching to your sishyas? I always had this tinge of regret because my Thatha refused to teach me pranayama, saying I would meet my guru who would teach me later in my life. Thatha smiled and said, no, this is not the purpose of pranayama. He got up from his chair and walked over to the edge of the veranda. Staring into the distant trees, he became silent. The whole space changed dramatically. The hairs on my hands were standing and I had goosebumps all over. I was a little alarmed and looked at the other sishyas. They had all closed their eyes and they were sitting still. The fragrance of vibhuti suddenly became strong. It was evening time and my cousin was walking out with a lamp in her hand, chanting, Deepam, Deepam. She placed it at the entrance of the veranda in line with the main door. She sat down and started singing a bhajan. Those days, it was customary in Kerala homes to do Sandhya Deepam in the evenings. Thatha walked back and sat in his chair and closed his eyes, slightly swaying with the bhajan. I noticed tears in his eyes. After my cousin ended her bhajan and went back inside, I looked up at Thatha, hoping for him to continue talking about breath. His whole composure had changed, and in a very soft voice, he said, we usually don't talk much when it comes to aspects of breath. We give methods. We teach methods like pranayama through which one has to walk the path and discover it. Discover what, Thatha? I gently interrupted. Thatha replied, discover the aspect of pinda and anda, being pindanda. Thatha meant how the body is, so is the cosmos. To travel deep into the inner spaces where one discovers that this is like an endless journey into cosmic space. The Siddhas have said that Kandavar Vindilar, Vindavar Kandilar, which means those who have seen it have never returned to tell us, and those who came back to tell us have not seen it all. But some realized beings who learned the mechanics of the body, like Palalar and Tirumular, saw it and came back. They gave us methods through which everyone can experience this. Again, Thatha became silent and that same feeling came over all of us. This time I was less startled and felt more at ease with the feeling in the air. Thatha gently spoke. I felt he was emotional. My Guru Shivananda Paramahamsa of Vadagara initiated me into Brahma Vidya, which involved the usage of breath. Later on, a yogi who was passing by my house came in and initiated me into Kriya. I feel it was Appa himself. Thatha always referred to his Guru Vadagara Shivananda as Appa. Thatha continued, then I met Kadapa Sachidananda Yogeshwarar, who expanded my knowledge on the pranayama, which I was already practicing, and initiated me into advanced practices. Kadapa Sachidananda Yogeshwarar had written a book named Brahma Aikya Vedanta Rahasyam in 1912. The English version is available these days. When I was 17, I got hold of this book from my Thatha's house and started practicing pranayama as given in the book. My Tata had just attained Samadhi a year before, and I thought this book would be my guide and guru to learn pranayama and went into it with full force. I started having very drastic positive changes in my body within a few months of practice. Encouraged by these changes, I jumped into higher level practices without waiting, as it was mentioned in the book. I thought I was on a fast track and don't need to do the basic level practices for a year or so. Just a few months before that, I had also been initiated into the Kundalini Yoga by a Maharishi from Pollachi. As it was giving me a new high and opening new aspects within me, I combined these two practices and started doing. I started hearing voices and seeing things, and I thought maybe I was going crazy. Then I told myself that these things would pass and kept doing my own modified pranayama. One day during the pranayama, a sharp pain struck like a lightning in my middle back, running both up to my head and down my spine. I was instantly incapacitated and had to lie down sideways. For almost 2 weeks, I could not walk up straight. I could not eat any solid food nor sleep well because of the pain. My parents took me to a hospital, and in spite of doctors doing all kinds of tests, they could not figure out what was going wrong. It was 2 more weeks in the hospital bedridden and only IV and liquid food happening. I was losing weight and looked really sick. One day, a friend of my Tata was visiting, and when he heard about my situation, he arrived at the hospital. He told others to be outside and made me sit up. He ran his hand up and down my spine once and gave one hard push at the exact point where I had pain. It crackled and I straightened up for the first time in 4 weeks. He said, "Never ever practice anything without Guru's guidance. Would have died if I had not come." 7 years later, I learned pranayama properly from Sadguru and went on to do samyama and advanced practice. That's when I was able to reconnect many things that my Tata was explaining about breath. Tata continued about pranayama and the power of breath. He said, by incessant practice of pranayama, one attains to mastery of breath. Through mastery, one can consciously cease to breathe for prolonged periods of time, even days and months or even years. It is not forceful, but a gradual and an effortless process. This is not cessation of only the breath, but all the activities of the body, because breath, through its flow through the 72,000 nadis, nourishes and controls the whole body and its function. This state is referred to as samadhi. There are various kinds of samadhi depending on the sankalpa and the sadhana. Through this mastery, one can also perform activities in superhuman ways in the world. When you step out for some activity which requires success, your Surya Nadi, right nostril, should be dominant. When you go to listen to elders or seek blessings, your Chandra Nadi, left nostril, should become dominant. When you are debating with somebody, if you want to succeed, you activate your Surya Nadi. Of course, you need the necessary skills to succeed, but breath gives you the added advantage. And also you need to know what Nadi is dominant for the person you are debating with. Like this, there are infinite ways of Nadi Beda, controlling the dominance of breath in a particular Nadi towards achieving a specific result. Tata ended his talk on breath. Later, when I read the book, I realized in how many ways breath can be used in day-to-day life. But knowing it as an information is one thing, and to master it over years of dedicated practice is a totally different game altogether. The next episode, we will look at what other siddhas have spoken about breath and its magic, and how my Tata connected that technology in the making of yantras. Namaskar.